Hello guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning and if they should blow up their team. Now, after winning the President's Trophy, the Tampa Bay Lightning have been swept in round 1 of the NHL playoffs. So should the Tampa Bay Lightning consider blowing up their entire core? Watch till the end to find out. Now, there have been some surprising results so far in the first round of the NHL playoffs, but none more surprising than the Tampa Bay-Columbus series, where the Blue Jackets have swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, the President's Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning, in a result that pretty much Columbus fans, heavily optimistic Columbus fans, could only predict. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning tied for the most wins in NHL history in the regular season with 62 with the Detroit Red Wings back in 1996. They also had 128 points on the season, being the best team in the league and getting the President's Trophy. But the big question was with Tampa, what they could actually prove in the playoffs. We always knew they were a fantastic team pretty much from day one of this NHL season, but they were always supposed to prove something in this playoffs for how good they were in the regular season. With the Tampa Bay Lightning, again, they've had that core for a long time, but never been able to get to the Stanley Cup. And a lot of people this season did predict them to go all the way. Now, when it came to my predictions, I saw the Tampa Bay Lightning losing in the second round to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but at least I saw them winning some games and going on to the round 2 advancement. I didn't think Tampa Bay at all was going to get swept by Columbus. I don't think, again, most people did. A lot of people had Tampa cleaning out the Columbus Blue Jackets. I had the Columbus Blue Jackets winning 2 games in that series, being competitive, but definitely not playing as well as they did. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously, were not expecting Columbus Blue Jackets, just like the most of us right now. Now, the team that ended up winning 62 games in the regular season and having an absolutely bonkers regular season is not the same Tampa Bay Lightning that we saw in the first round of the NHL playoffs versus the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was just not the same team whatsoever. The offensive stars, the defense, the goaltending that was there in the regular season all just came flat in the playoffs. The goaltending was pretty much meh at best. The defense, defensively and offensively, was pretty bad. The star power was nowhere to be seen, and the depth offensively was just completely gone. Now, the Tampa Bay Lightning made quite a bit of history with their loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets, being the first team to win the President's Trophy and to get swept in the first round. The closest thing to happen to that was the 2012 Vancouver Canucks, where they ended up losing in 5 to the eventual Stanley Cup winning LA Kings. But at least in that series, they won 1 game. I like, with Tampa Bay, they don't even have that to go off of. Now, with Tampa's unbelievable collapse and being swept versus the Columbus Blue Jackets, I saw a lot of people last night calling for the Tampa Bay Lightning to blow up their team. Basically meaning, get rid of the core players, get rid of that whole core, rebuild and retool, and in a few years, get back to it. And that's a very interesting proposal, and one that does have quite a few good arguments. Now, some of those arguments are about John Cooper not being a playoff coach, the team being full of chokers, the team not being able to live up to the expectations and actually win a cup. Now, those are the main arguments right there from what I've seen so far. And to me, while those arguments, they do have a point, I think they're ultimately flawed in the end. While, yes, the Tampa Bay Lightning have been unable to win a cup with their current core, and that is pretty bad, there should be no reason why the Tampa Bay Lightning will be blowing it up right now. In their current state, there is no reason they should right now. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are a perfect example of how hard it is to win a Stanley Cup. And they've been that way for the past few years, where they've had excellent opportunities to win a Stanley Cup under their core, but have been unable to actually get it done time and time again. And you're starting to see a pattern here. It kind of sounds like the Washington Capitals before they ended up winning the Cup last year. And I feel like for the Tampa Bay Lightning to be the new Capitals right now is their current role, and while it might take some more losing, I think in the end a cup, or at least maybe a couple of cups, will come. Now, while the Tampa Bay Lightning are a team and a great example of a team collapsing the playoffs time and time again, the Washington Capitals are a great example of a team that did the same thing, but eventually won the Stanley Cup in the end. And what did the Washington Capitals have? Patience, and patience in abundance. Year after year, they continue to go for it. They continue to go for it, and what happened? They went for it. They lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the second round, and then they had to shed some stuff back. They had to let some guys go to free agency. They had to let the expectations come back because the team on paper did not look as good as teams in the past with the Washington Capitals. But what happened was the expectations were lower, and for the Washington Capitals, they rose to the occasion. And I think the same thing will happen to the Tampa Bay Lightning next year after now basically being playoff chokers for the longest time now. Now, when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting swept versus the Columbus Blue Jackets might be a great thing in disguise. When it comes to the expectations that Tampa Bay had, so many people had them, of course, win the President's Trophy and win the Stanley Cup after how good they were in the regular season. And when you have expectations that high, it's almost impossible to meet up with them. But next year might be a year that's, oh, Tampa's just going to lose in the first round again. They're just going to lose in the Eastern Conference Final again. But that doubt, that kind of mystery was still the team when they were in this playoff run. There was still a chance, and a lot of people had them still winning the Stanley Cup. But after that run, after getting swept versus Columbus, I feel a lot of people will discount them now because they were so bad in that series. But I feel like now with the Tampa Bay Lightning having that expectations lower, I think they will once again rise to the occasion. Maybe not win a Stanley Cup, but get pretty close. If you blow up the Tampa Bay Lightning now, though, the core basically gets given up. You basically give up on the core that has won you President's trophies, has won you fantastic playoff series before, but has not won the Stanley Cup. And yes, that is a problem with the current core, is that they haven't been able to get it done. But blowing up the core now, when they've been so close so many times before, is just not the patient move, and one that won't create a winning atmosphere in Tampa Bay. With the Washington Capitals, again, I am prioritizing patience. And for the Tampa Bay Lightning, in order to really succeed and win a Stanley Cup, I think they have to have that too. And I feel like that kind of blueprint is what the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think, should go for. While the Washington Capitals, of course, lost, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup next year because of the expectations being so much lower for them. And I feel like the same thing will happen to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, what's too much different from them? They were both President's Trophy winners, they both ended up choking, and they both continued to have that choke label. And once the expectations came down, the Washington Capitals were able to rise up to the occasion and win the Stanley Cup. And with the Tampa Bay Lightning, I feel like the same potential is there for that to happen. But if they blow up the core, that's giving up on that potential. That's giving up on the whole scenario. The Tampa Bay Lightning are still a great team and could contend for a Stanley Cup, which very well could happen. And for the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they want to continue the success, they better keep that core because it still is fantastic. And I know a lot of teams right now would die to have it. Now, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, keeping their current core will be hard, but not impossible. Now, the big guy coming off the Bucks this offseason is Brayden Point. He's an RFA. He'll get a bunch of cash, even though he is just an RFA, not an UFA, so he will get paid a little bit less. He is still going to get paid a ton for how well he's done this season, in the last couple of seasons as well. Now, a season after this one will be Andrei Vasilevskiy. He comes off of his $3.5 million deal, and he'll get a bunch of money as well. He'll likely win a Vezina Trophy by then, and he'll be worth a ton of change. Now, the same thing goes for Ryan Callahan. He'll be off his huge contract, so that will be a little bit of cap room for Tampa to finagle with, but still, Vasilevskiy and Brayden Point getting big contracts is definitely going to hurt that cap hit. But for the Tampa Bay Lightning, the good news is that prospects are coming through and are playing quite well. Throughout the system in the AHL, they're doing quite well. There's a lot of prospects, maybe not superstar prospects, but a lot of good solid depth prospects that will play in role-playing roles and will be very good for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Guys that will play for cheap contracts, that'll be very effective, and that's what the Tampa Bay Lightning have done well in the last few years, but will need to specialize as guys like Brayden Point and Andrei Vasilevskiy come with contracts. But even though those huge guys are coming off and will need big paydays, I still think they can fit them all as guys like Ryan Callahan come off the Bucks. So it is manageable, hard, but still manageable. But if you blow up this core right now, you're giving up on fantastic talents like Andrei Vasilevskiy, Brayden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman. The core that the Tampa Bay Lightning have not been able to win a cup yet, but it will come eventually. If the Tampa Bay Lightning have patience, continue to make the right moves, get some good depth players that can contribute, I feel like the Washington Capitals of 2018 will be what the Tampa Bay Lightning end up becoming sometime soon. Whether that's next year, whether that's the year after, if they continue the course and continue to be the Tampa Bay Lightning, they will eventually win a Stanley Cup. But again, for the Tampa Bay Lightning, patience is key for them to continue the winning that they've had. Rebuilding this team now at this time would be a pretty bad move. We've seen some good teams that lost to the playoffs, made some really over-exaggerated moves in the past, with Chicago getting swept versus Nashville, ended up trading Artemi Panarin for Brandon Saad. That trade is looking pretty bad right now, and for the Tampa Bay Lightning, they should do nothing in this offseason. Try and do as little as possible and continue the team that they had before. Try and make the Stanley Cup Finals again and hopefully win it. But for the Tampa Bay Lightning, again, patience is key, and if they have that, they'll eventually get it done. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about the Tampa Bay Lightning? What do you think about the potential of them pretty much blowing up their current team? Are you in favor of it? Do you want them to stay patient? And do you think the Tampa Bay Lightning, with their current core, can actually win a Stanley Cup? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video on Nazem Kadri and him getting suspended for the rest of the first round. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on Tampa Lightning, if they can win a cup with their current core, and if they should blow it up. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.